Hello everyone, it's Lottie from Cancer is a Lifestyle, and welcome to the Sunday Ramble. So today it's going to be a little bit of a serious tone. Um, I have been asked recently, I've had quite a few questions of people wanting to know my cancer journey, my cancer testimony. Um, so I'm going to give you a short version of the 14 years that I've been with cancer. Yeah, I'm going to give you a short version if I can. So I'm going to try to see if I can answer some of those questions and give you like a shortened version of this cancer. Back in 2007, I was diagnosed with stage 3 ovarian cancer. It is a recurrent carcinoma. My youngest was in high school at that time. She was graduating. And it was one of those busy years. If you have teenagers, you know what I'm talking about. There was yearbooks, there was a prom, there was a luncheon, there was just award ceremonies. There was just like a lot of things going on that year, school year, I should say. And I just kept postponing going to the doctor. Now, the number one question that I get asked, that I have ever been asked, no matter where I go, by all sorts of people, even in the medical field, especially women, is how did you know you had cancer? So I did do a video on that, and I am going to link it down below if you want to see the whole version of that. But I'm just going to give you a short little, I did not know I had cancer. I felt something inside of my stomach area. I felt that there was something there. I could feel it. I did not know that I was feeling my tumor at that time, but I just thought that, you know, we women have a lot of issues, and I thought it was just something minor, that I'm going to go to the doctor, and you know, after, you know, I get Emily situated with school and everything, and she graduates, and I finally did go on May 25th, and there was a sense of urgency at my doctor's office because they sensed that this was probably ovarian cancer. I, at the time, and during this whole first bout with cancer, I did not understand what that meant. Let's put it that way. I just handled it like I handle everything else in life, which is, okay, here's the situation, all right, so what do I need to do so I can, you know, step A, B, C, and D, so then I can get back to living my life. And that's kind of how I approached it. I did not approach it as a life-threatening situation. I kind of figured that I would have a hysterectomy, and then I would start, you know, chemotherapy, and then I added, you know, how, you know, the length of times and how many dosages I would have to have, and then I figured that, you know, this is May, that I would be back at work in September. And of course, none of that happened. I had so many issues that went wrong the first time in 2007. And I say the first time because a recurring carcinoma means that your cancer just keeps coming back. And the first time I had a multitude of things go wrong. I had my hysterectomy. They took out a tumor that weighed 7 pounds. I literally had a baby. And after that, I had an abscess. I had 1 round of chemo, and then that was it, because for the following 4 months after that, I had so many complications that prevented me from having my second dosage. And I was in and out of the hospital constantly, and by that I mean I was in the hospital for 4 days, I was home for a week. Back in the hospital for 10 days, back home for 4 days, and I just had so many complications. They also had to cut 6 inches off my colon. They had to do a colostomy to help it heal better. I developed an abscess from that. They had to put in a mesh to bind my stomach. That mesh did not agree with me. I ended up getting a fistula. I had multiple fevers, infections, 5 in total, that I was back and forth in the hospital. By the time I was able to get back on my chemo, it was, I think, like October. And also, like I said, the fistula, if you're not familiar with it, that also means I could not eat anything orally. I had to be fed intravenously for 2 months. And then I also had a reversal of my colostomy. So I did not return doing my my chemo until in October. So by the time I actually went back to work part-time in January when I was done, I lost massive amounts of weight. I was very anorexic because I was not eating. It affected me, all the things I was going through. It affected my appetite. And so I weighed about, at that time, a little under 100 pounds, if you can believe that or not. But it is not a healthy 100 pounds. It is more like an anorexic 100 pounds, where you look, made me think of concentration camp survivors. And I have pictures of that, just for myself. But once I got back to work in January, I worked part-time to get myself back on track. I did not start working full-time till another additional 4 or 5 months, which I think it was May before I started. So a whole year went by before I actually went back to work. And then what followed after that, I had a glorious, glorious 4.5 years of remission. And by that I mean glorious because I had this renewed love of life. I ended up gaining back my weight. I gained up actually more than my weight. I gained 80 pounds total from that under 100. So I ended up being chunky, fluffy. I'm only 5'1 3/4. I look more like a ball than an hourglass. But I had this renewed love for everyone. I have been very fortunate that when I went through my cancer the first time, my entire family and friends surrounded me, where the waiting rooms were packed with our family members. There were a multitude of flowers, and the staff just could not believe how much love was coming towards me from people that knew me. People really came together for me, and I felt such incredible love. And people were praying for me that I never even met. I would get so many handkerchiefs that from churches that were prayed out over, and shawls, and I mean, I had a tremendous amount of support, is what I mean. So what followed were 4.5 years of beautiful time where I just felt renewed and loved, and I felt really completely healed. I felt like that's it. And then 2011 rolled around. I went for my regular appointment, which I was going every 3 months for my checkups. And that included even my PET scans at that time. As the years went on, the insurance companies didn't want to pay for a PET scan. It went to a CT scan. And so every 3 months, I went for my regular checkup, and it was a pap smear that she found a little lump in the same exact place. And this is another question that I get asked, so let me clarify it before anybody makes a comment down below. People assume that because you have a hysterectomy that there's like this big hole inside of you, and but why do you need pap smears if your hysterectomy is gone? But they still, check you down there. You're not complete whole. There's still a cavity there, and the cancer can attach itself, a little tiny cell, to the lining of something, and she actually felt it, that little bump, tiny little bump that shouldn't have been there, and that meant that my cancer was back for the second time in 2011 in the fall. I was devastated. As I was able to handle it the first time, the second time I just fell apart in the doctor's office, and I started crying, and I was just totally devastated because like, why is this thing back again? I did all that. I handled that. I should be healed from that. And I really thought I was going to die. Even though they told me I have a recurring carcinoma, but it just didn't like sink in here. And I really thought I was going to die. So then I started writing a blog. And I started a blog for the simple reason is that I really thought I was going to die. And I wanted to leave something behind for my children. But I did not know just how therapeutic that blog was going to become for me. So that's another question that I get asked a lot is, did you go to therapy? Did you go to a group? Did you, what help did you receive for the mental part of this? And my answer would be, I didn't go to group and I didn't go to any kind of, my therapy was the writing. And I often suggest to people to start a journal through whatever illness you're going through or whatever tragedy you're going through in your life. Write it out. It doesn't matter. Nobody has to see it. You can post it. I chose to post it. I did not think anybody was reading it. I was amazed that people were reading it. And if any of you are interested in reading all those years, because I posted every time I had a cancer, I kept writing. I don't write as often anymore, but that's just because I have other issues like writer's block and my busy schedule. But if you're interested, the link is down below, and you can read that journey on a daily basis. But that was very therapeutic for me, and it really helped me. The second time, I was kind of in the house more because of the fact that I had to go in and get a booster every time I had a treatment. The next day I had it 24 hours later. I had to go for a booster because this type of chemo really affected my immune system. So I had to go back in, and I kind of had to stay inside. I didn't go out very much because I didn't want to be around. I could get really sick if I was around other people's germs and all. So I did that. Treatment went fine. Was in remission for a short time. That was 2011. 2013 in the fall, again it came back that my cancer started growing for the third time, and I started treatment again. Now, in all this time, I only had surgery the first time because I am one of those people that does not react well with surgery. I don't do well with surgery. I've had so many complications that my oncologists were very nervous about putting me under. If they could treat it another way, they would. And because of the fact that I had just such a history the first time of all these complications, where I was in and out of the hospital for 4 months. So this back in 2013, I had my chemo. This is the time that I'm not sure if I had lost my hair. Out of the 4 times I had cancer, I only lost my hair twice. But I will tell you that the other 2 times I may have not lost my hair, but your hair does thin out. And you will see a significant amount of loss in your hair at the end of your treatment. Even though you have it, but you lose a lot of it too. It thins it out. I remember looking at pictures of myself, and my ears were literally sticking out, and I thought, oh my gosh, my hair is just gotten so thin. You don't realize it until you are confronted with it, like in a picture suddenly, and you think, wow, even my ears are sticking out now. So in 2013, something else happened. A group of young ladies at my church, asked me if I could teach them how to crochet. Now, I have been crocheting ever since 2007 came around. That is another thing that has helped me with my cancer, with my therapy. It was the writing and it was the crocheting. And I found that very therapeutic as I waited in the doctor's offices and when I went through all my treatments and in and out of the hospital. And if any of you are going through cancer or have gone through cancer or any kind of chronic illness, you know that you basically live in a hospital and in the waiting room. It was very therapeutic for me to be focusing on something other than what I was going through. So I found myself crocheting. I crocheted many things for people, for hospitals, for things, and I found it was just relaxing to me. So a group of young ladies at my church wanted me to teach them how to crochet, and hence they all just kind of like appeared at my house one day, and I thought, well, you know what, and they liked the idea of, you know, crocheting for ministry. They liked that. It was a church, and you know, and that's where the crocheting ministry got started from. And in the beginning we had quite a few people, just like in anything you start new, everybody's interested, and then it kind of dies off. I think the most I've ever had were 25, believe it or not. And then I taught many young ladies how to crochet. I taught many 7, 8-year-olds how to crochet. You know, that from that third cancer came the crocheting ministry, and from that day forward, I just wanted to bless others the way I have been blessed with that, with crocheting, and I found it therapeutic, and I hope that whoever receives the items that we donate, that they feel blessed and it helps them in some way through their journey. So then again, I was in remission, and 2016 rolled around, and it was actually summer this time, and it came back again, and I was so nonchalant about it. I will tell you, I was like, okay, it's like my 4th bout with cancer. I mean, what else am I going to learn from this that I haven't learned already? Because, you know, it's just like a here we go again kind of a thing, except that this time my doctor wanted to go in and do surgery. And even though I had the same doctor for the last 3 times, you know, the first time I had someone else. And before I go on, I also want to point out, because I forgot to mention, I've learned a lot during my first bout with cancer. One thing I learned is that it is not only important to find a really good oncologist for your type of cancer, but it's also important to find a very good hospital for your cancer. I never knew any of these things. I thought that a hospital is a hospital, and you know, you go wherever your doctor goes, and that they should be taking care of you because they're a hospital, and it's not so. The very first hospital that I was at did not take care of me, and by that I mean I would wait for hours on end for my meds, and I would be laying there in pain, and I would have to call my family and crying that I'm in pain, that I did not get my medicine, I didn't get my meds, and they would forget about me. They were late in continuously bringing it to me. My family would be calling the you know, the head nurse at the station all the time, and eventually I ended up just transferring out of there to another hospital because it was not a good experience for me. They were not good for me. I learned that. The other thing I learned the first time around was that let other people, don't take away their privilege of wanting to serve me. People want to help when others are in need, and not to be too proud to ask for that help. And I could honestly see how much joy they received from doing little things for me. Like, I've even had people sterilize my home. I mean, like, bleach the whole home, the whole, you know, where I was staying at my house, so I could have, you know, no bacteria on the house when I would come back. Like, they've done so many things for me. People want to help and love to help. Be open for that and let them help you. So anyway, where was I? So back in 2016, my doctor wants to do surgery. There were a couple things different this time. My tumor came back in a nice little round ball, and it was about the size of a tennis ball, or that's what they, not tennis ball, um, ping pong ball, golf ball. That's what, I'm sorry, I couldn't think of it. It was a nice little round ball, and it wasn't really attached to anything. Like, you know, she thought she could just go in there and just easily cut that out, and it'd be not attached to anything, you know, major. And another thing was happening is that I was developing a hernia in the early stages, even though I didn't feel any pain, but it was developing. So they were going to go in and take care of that. Now, so that was going to be something different for me. They watched me really closely, and they actually even kept me in the hospital longer because of my history of how I react. So they took really good care of me. I will tell you, my recovery was very slow. Now, mind you, when I first had cancer in 2007, I was 42 years old. 2016, you know, this is what, 21, that's 5 years ago. I was 51 years old. There's a difference. And besides that, it was my fourth time, and your body does deteriorate with all that chemo. I was tired more. I did not have that get up and go. And, you know, mind you, I am continually, it's coming back, and it's coming back every 2-3 years. It's coming back. Actually more like 2 years. It's coming back. So it had an effect on my body where I recovered well, but it took a long time for me to recover. I could see the process of how longer it was taking me. I knew what to do. I was able to follow directions. I could do this in my sleep, you guys, because by the time fourth time came around, I could, I used to call it my spa treatment day. And, because nobody would bother me. For the first couple days I would go through chemo, because they all knew that I was going to be not feeling well, and I would just take my crocheting and crochet, and that was my spot treatment. But it was a slow process, and they added on radiation, something I've never had, and this radiation was the end of me. I had like a mental meltdown during my radiation. It affected me in some way that I cannot even, it still kind of scares me when I think about it, as that how adverse I was to it. And I literally fought with God every day when I went. I had to go for 25 days solid every morning. I would wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I would fight with God as to why am I going there. Now, mind you, I lived in Chicago. I had to go to UIC, which was like a drive on the expressway. Even on the expressway, it was like morning traffic, rush hour. It was like an hour. You were stop and go all the way. It was just horrific. I just could not. And I'm fighting with myself. I'm fighting with God the whole time that I am not going. This is just a bunch of BS. Why should I be going through all this? Fighting this traffic. My car wasn't working right. It died. My friend let me use his daughter's car. She was away in college, not using it. This car had no radio or nothing. So mind you, all the way from 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm driving from my 9 o'clock appointment. I am talking back and forth to God and arguing that this is pointless. I don't know why I'm going through all this radiation. It's just ridiculous. I'm going to be back here again next year, so why am I doing all this extra stuff? Like, I just could not deal with it. I just had like this mental block as to why the heck am I doing this? And I would fight, and I would find every reason you could think of not going. Like, there's no parking. I'm just going to turn around, because if I don't find any parking, I'm turning around, I'm going home. And I'm not kid you not, I would pull in and somebody be pulling out and there was parking spot. And I go, okay, fine, I'm going to go this time. But if, tomorrow there's no parking, I'm turning around, I'm going home. Like, I was just like that throughout the whole thing. And it's kind of funny, because at the end of my 25 days, I ended up bringing everyone this big platter of cookies as a thank you, because I felt so bad, because I felt like I was this horrible person. But the thing is that, whatever was going on in here never showed on my face. So they thought I was just this nicest lady ever. But inside there was so much turmoil going on with me. And I think it was just, I don't know. And I always felt that what I wrote during that time was probably one of the best things I've ever written. Because it just was raw. But I did get through it. I did ring that bell. And I've just now, I'm in remission now for 5 years. I've never made it this far, as to 5 years. So I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know, but I'm still here. So let's talk about my title. When I first came on YouTube, like I said, I talked a lot about my cancer. I talked about different tips and things that I've done that have helped me, and I thought maybe it could help other people. People did not want to hear me. And I came on to do two things. I was going to talk about that, and I was going to talk about my crocheting. And I was going to talk about my ministry, because I feel this is all one thing. I have cancer. I have a chronic illness, which is my cancer keeps coming back. And a lot of people don't want to hear that word cancer. They don't want to know that you can still go on living. I know that cancer for most people means a death sentence. And when they see that word, they shy away from it. And I've had many people tell me that they at first did not come onto my channel because of the fact that I had that word in my title, that it scared them. But I just wanted to be on here because I wanted to show people that you can still have a purpose in life. No matter what your chronic illness is, you can still go on. Okay, my life happens to be with cancer. And it's not that I'm accepting or I'm like, what's the word? Because I had someone tell me that I am just calm, I'm like, I don't know, like I'm saying how easy it is and light it is or whatever. It isn't. It isn't. But I'm not going to stop living my life just because I have cancer. And I have a chronic cancer, so I just wanted to show that to people, that you can still live a purposeful life, and no matter with what you're facing. And I wanted to show my ministry, because that is part of what came from my cancer, was the ministry. So, and I quickly found that there was no genre for my cancer, because a lot of the people that had cancer, like a cancer community, there really is no cancer community. Like there's a Yarny community that accepts you. I really didn't fit into any group, because when I would look up other people that had, cancer, the cancer community, either they passed away or they, won their battle and they stopped talking about it. They wouldn't show the, the life after cancer. Or I've had one where she just like erased that part of her life, and her channel was about something else entirely. And so here I am. I'm like that oddball out with this crazy title that I guess, I don't know, maybe it makes sense to people, maybe it doesn't, but it makes a lot of sense to me, because that's who I am. I am someone who's living with cancer, who will probably face cancer till it kills me eventually. And, crochet lady who likes to donate to different charities, and I like to write about my life. So there you go. There's my testimony. Oh yeah, did I say what the #1 question was? Yeah, I did, I think. So I will have some of those links down below that if you wanted to, you know, check them out yourself. I just wanted to come on and give you that because there have been a lot of questions about it. How do I answer someone's question for 14 years worth in a little comment? You know, I can't. So anyway, thank you for listening and for being here, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.